Hello and welcome to another edition of Comics and Pop. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Troy Cannon and Carlos Idarraga. And today we are going to do episodes 4 and 5 of Boba Fett. And before I turn it over to you guys, I just want to say we had episode 5. We had the appearance of the Mandalorian in episode 5. And I just want to know, what does it say about the series if so far the best episode is the one that the main character it doesn't even appear in? And that was episode 5. When Mandalorian shows up, it reminded me of all the greatness of that show, and reminds me that the Boba Fett is just so. That's my opinion, but anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you guys, because especially Carlos in a second, because he's the one that's been defending this show. But let's go to Troy first. Troy, your thoughts on 4 and 5 of Boba Fett?
I liked it. I liked 4 because if they're going to go into the Mandalorian, into the Boba Fett thing with all the Mandalorians, and they're going to talk about, the seedy underworld, then they had to bring in the bosses. They had to talk to them. I don't think if I were a seedy underworld mob boss, and I had Fennec Shan. Whoa.
He tries to act like the bison muscle wasn't funded through illicit funds.
Illegal means, right?
I may own a construction site or two.
Yeah.
So if I had, Fennec Shan standing there, and she's like a super mercenary and everything, and these guys were like, yeah, we're not going to do it, I would have straight up been like walking behind them with a baseball bat, telling them baseball stories and giving somebody the whack. It seems like, when you're in the mob and you're the boss, all the time we see the round circle of the guys. Even in the Joker, Jack Nicholson, you got to pick one out and you got to give them the business, because
make an example.
if you don't, yes, you got to make an example. Somebody has to be sleeping with the fishes. Yes. And these guys, even though there's no water there, somebody had to sleep with the fish, and nobody slept with the fish. He was just like, okay, well, then just don't bug me when I'm doing it. And even Fennec was like, are you sure that they're gonna not get involved? He's like, yeah, I know what's good for their business. No, you don't. You had to kill one of those. These are crazy space alien gangsters. Somebody had to get got, and he didn't do it. The next scene, though, because that was kind of a placid scene. They're building a story, and I get that. But to go on another story, the reason I think that Peacemaker is doing so well, it's the pacing of the show. It's like bam, 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 something's happening. Bam, there's the butterflies. Bam, somebody got shot. Bam, it's a fist fight in an alley. It's just bang, bang, bang in your face, and it keeps coming. The difference with Boba, it's a story. They're building Boba Fett. We've had decades to know that Boba Fett is a lunatic mercenary, and that was cool. But then he took the helmet off and he pulled us closer into his world. He's like, yeah, I'm also a nice guy. When I was a kid, I cried. My daddy left me when I was little. We're getting into his life, and I think it was better when he was a bigger mystery. When he was a mystery, he was scary. When you hear something under your bed at night and you don't know what it is, it's a mystery. It's scary. When there's a creak in your closet and you don't know what it is, it's scary. It's a mystery. Boba turned the lights on. He's like, hey, man, it was me under your bed, man. It was me in the closet. No mystery. The mystery's gone, so he's not that scary. With Jen, with the Mandalorian, with him, there's still a little mystery. We've got 30 years of Boba Fett, so we've got kind of an idea of what's happening. He's still a great character, but we're looking under the mask now. Even though the Mandalorian took his mask off a couple times, we're still kind of looking under the mask. He's still a mystery. He's got the black saber. We don't really know what's going on with that. He's building, maybe building forces with other Mandalorians. We don't really know what's under that. So as far as Boba, it's a great story, but the lights are on. As far as the Mandalorian, everything's still in the dark. We don't know what that creek is under the bed. There's still some mystery. And that's what I think about that. And he should have killed somebody.
I'll agree with you about building tension. I don't mind building tension in stories. I think you should build up everything before we get to it. I don't need like the Peacemaker, like you said, pop, pop, pop all at once. I don't necessarily need it. I like it in Peacemaker. I enjoy it. But I also think it's, it's a very different show. This is supposed to be funny as well. But I don't mind building the tension. But to me, and so far in Boba Fett, as long as you're building the tension, give us the tension. I don't feel the tension every week with it. I'm enjoying, mostly the series is okay. I'm not saying I'm enjoying it. It's like, okay. The Mandalorian episode, I enjoyed. I really loved that show. It was such a different tone than the rest of Boba Fett. I don't mind the talking, going back and forth, building up the story, but give me the tension. There's nothing there right now. It's just like, come on, guys, I want to rule this town. What do you say? Like, no. I'm like, oh, please. That's what it feels like with Boba Fett right now. There's just no menace in the air with everything. So it's kind of been a little bit disappointing to me. And then the Mandalorian shows up and like, yes, this is what I like. This is the series that I like. This is what I was signing up for. This is what I enjoyed, the last couple of years. This character is just so much better than what they're making Boba Fett. And Boba Fett is like Star Wars royalty, kind of. Everyone loves Boba Fett. They've failed to produce it so far for me. All right, let me go to the guy that's been defending the show nonstop. Carlos, let me get your thoughts. The last couple of episodes.
Are you guys done? I feel like I'm the Stephen A. Smith of this show. Let me start bloviating and pontificating the nonsense that you guys are spewing. But all right, so let's start off by showing me your sweatshirt, Jonathan.
All right,
show the fans the sweatshirt.
There we go.
Mets, and look at his hat. See? So obviously we agree on everything. We've been best friends for over 30 years, and we agree on everything. Right? So let me start off by saying the first point that I thought was funny that Troy made about Peacemaker. Troy's like, yes, violence and death, and Jonathan's like, well, dick jokes. I need more dick jokes. I need more talking. So I guess we know each one of you is into and stuff when it comes to the show. So Boba Fett, so Boba Fett, basically, as you guys already know, the 3 or 4 people that watched the our first episode on Boba Fett, where we did the first 3 episodes. I'm a big fan. I'm a Star Wars guy. I'm like, it's like I'm like the same way Trekkies are to Star Trek, and they can see like some old Star Trek show that's garbage and be like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. I could watch anything Star Wars and be like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever because I'm a Star Wars guy. So I was enjoying Boba Fett. You can't compare Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. Boba Fett is a 70-year-old kind of like, retiring. And that's kind of like why he took the mantle of being the overlord, the godfather of that area, because to me, he's kind of like retiring almost. That's pretty much the way I look at this show. And, a Mandalorian is a younger guy, he's still a bounty hunter. That's still what he does for a living. He's still, into that. So, I love The Mandalorian. Both seasons, fantastic. I love the fact that they're bringing it in, but I think it's so disrespectful that everyone everywhere is saying the best episode of Boba Fett is the one that Boba Fett wasn't even in. It's the one that was all about the Mandalorian. And like I said, I love the episode. I love the Mandalorian. Give me more Mandalorian. But to me, I think kind of like Disney, not that they're kowtowing, because I'm sure they filmed this before, before they heard reviews and everything like that. But they kind of know that the Mandalorian is kind of like the starship of this whole thing. And, Boba Fett, obviously Boba Fett came, it was a spinoff from the Mandalorian, the book of the Boba Fett. And I think that bringing in the Mandalorian is kind of saying, okay, we're probably just going to have one season of the Boba Fett, and we're, just to like get it out there, make some money, whatever. But like I said, I love Boba Fett. I love everything about the show. You can't compare the Mandalorian and Boba Fett. I mean, they're both Mandalorians, whatever, but it's different because one of them still thinks he's a Mandalorian, wants to be a Mandalorian, was upset that he took the helmet off, and now is going to try to figure out a way that he can, redeem himself in the episode, right? He wants, because he still wants to be a Mandalorian. Boba Fett doesn't want to be a Mandalorian. Boba Fett doesn't give a fuck. Boba Fett became a freaking sand person. You know what I mean? He doesn't give a shit. He actually joined the Sand People and got inducted into the Sand People. So being a Mandalorian means dick to him. He doesn't care about being a Mandalorian anymore. He's Boba Fett. Nobody says, oh, what are you about, oh, you're a Mandalore or whatever. No, I'm Boba Fett. the costume is kind of like secondary now. It's more about him. So to me, I separate Boba Fett from the Mandalorian, because the Mandalorian is kind of like if you were ever in a fraternity, like, you know, if you went to college, you're in a fraternity, it's kind of like being in a fraternity and it's your first year and you're pledging and you're all psyched, versus being a senior and you're graduating, you're like, whatever, it was fun. That, you know, Boba Fett is done. He's graduating, going on to bigger things. And the Mandalorian is still, you know, he's still a pledge. He still wants to, you know, prove himself, whatever, right? So I think to compare the two of them, it's kind of like not fair to Boba Fett, because we're looking at Boba Fett kind of like near the end of his career, where we're looking at the Mandalorian where he's just beginning. So I think, to me, this series is more of like, this is out of respect to Boba Fett, to where Star Wars came from, to like push off Mandalorian, and Mandalorian is basically going to be the new Boba Fett of Star Wars. That's the way that I'm looking at it.
Part of the here is that you have this big Boba Fett's supposed to be the crime boss without actually doing any crime. It's not.
But that's just it. He's already done crime. He's been doing crime for, you know, for forever. So this is kind of him, like, you know, in a way, him becoming the crime boss. The way I look at it, he's kind of retiring from doing that, from being a bounty hunter. He's kind of like, okay, now I'm just, you know, I'm going to have people under me and they're going to be doing this stuff. He's going out to hire muscle and do all this stuff, because he's not going to be, you know, he's not going to be the one.
That's what I'm saying. The one, shouldn't the crime boss be striking fear into the town around him? And no one's scared of him. He's walking around the town all by himself. And even those 5 Power Ranger kids, you know, those teens, they're like, they don't even look at him like they're scared. They're just like,
right.
Hey, what do you want, old man?
Right, but it's the same. Like I said, obviously we have to take the Disney factor into it, right? We're watching a Disney Plus, and, you know, it's not going to be gore and, you know, and craziness. But like I said, to me, people are like, Boba Fett is still alive. You know what I mean? Like, most people are like, they don't even know that they're shocked, they're surprised that he was alive, because they didn't even, you know, he wasn't, like I said, he wasn't Boba Fett for a long time, right? So people are like, you know, they thought he was dead, so they're not, you know, it's like a second thought, you know what I mean? That's kind of like how they're looking at him, where the Mandalorian is still, you know, is on the come up. And, you know, first of all, Boba Fett and Mandalorian, these are not good people. These are horrible people. These are killers. These are, you know, people that make money to go kill people. You know what I mean? The only reason that we look back on it and stuff is because it's on space and they're killing space aliens, so we don't assume. But if they were on Earth, you know, Boba Fett and the Mandalorian, they would be the Punisher. You know, they would be that kind, you know, the Kingpin, you know, horrible, horrible people. So they're trying to, you know, we're trying to learn their sweet side. Like, they gave Mandalorian Grogu, a baby Yoda. So, you know, and now he's getting little things made for him. You know, he got a little gift for him. You know, he took a spear that he's killed thousands of people, aliens with, and he made it into a little thing for him, and he's going to give it to him. It's going to be so cute, you know? So it's like, they're trying to give us like their heart, like their human side too. So, you know, it's kind of like funny in a way. But, you know, to me, Boba Fett and Mandalorian, these are stone cold killers. You know, they're just at different stages in their lives. You know, one is like, okay, you know, I'm gonna run stuff and have other people kill for me, while the other one is still doing the killing.
I see Boba Fett. I see what you're saying, and it makes sense. Mando is a Sumerian. Boba used to be a Sumerian, but now he's King Conan. He doesn't have to go out there fighting in pits and fighting dinosaurs and hanging out with Red Sonja. He's sitting on the throne, and I get that. But in every movie I've seen in the TV show Power, if you guys ever watched that with the guy Ghost, the very first episode, he's like, I'm getting out of it. I'm not doing it anymore. I got a nightclub. I'm making money with this. You know, I'm not doing the drug thing anymore. And then Tommy comes up to him and is like, hey, man, we got that dude that shot Freddie last week. And he's like, where is he? He's like, he's in the garage. So he's legit. But he goes downstairs and he's like, you killed Freddie. He's like, I'm not scared to die. He's like, I'm not scared to kill you. And he shot him in the face. And I was like, you just said you were turning legit. He had to keep that aura around him. When Michael Corleone sits at the round table and his nephew, or I guess his brother, Fredo, was out there on that boat tripping, he kissed him. He mouth kissed him, which was you're just saying that is like making me short circuit right now. But he mouth kissed his brother, and he's like, that's it, Fredo, you're dead. And he killed him. I'm like, well, why would you kill your brother? All of the mob bosses that I can think of through every genre ruled through fear. I don't think he's a mob boss now. What I think is he's going to be a leader. See, in the beginning, he told people, I don't want to rule with fear. I want to rule with respect. There's a difference. If they respect you, you're a leader. If they fear you, you're kind of a mob boss because they're scared that you're going to do something horrible to them. I think he's going to rid that world of the Pikes. The Pikes are coming in there. They're hardcore. They're so hardcore that the Hutts are like, maybe this planet isn't worth it. The Hutts are considering backing out because the Pikes are coming. So I think if he rids the world of the Pikes, people will be like, hey, this is kind of a good guy. And he'll become the leader. He'll lead that planet. He'll be Boba Fett leader.
Right, I agree, and that's what I'm saying. That's where his ulterior motives come in. Like, even though he's retired, I mean, he's still a freaking killer. You got to remember what was the first thing he did when he got his ship back? He went in and he slaughtered all those people, like and just slaughtered like 100 people, when they were on their speeders or whatever, So he's still that's still like nothing to him, But like you said, he wants to become the overlord of that area, the crime boss. And to be the crime boss, there's a difference between business, and so for business to be prosperous, he can't just go around and kill everybody, He needs to, these people need to pay him a respect and give him money, and they can't do that if they're all dead. So he's got to, he's obviously going at it with a different mindset than Boba Fett, and then not that Boba Fett, than Jabba, and that's why Jabba was dead. That's why Jabba was gone, right? So, it's a different mentality, and we can't, like I said, to me, I personally don't associate. I look at Mandalorian and I look at Boba Fett, and they're totally at different stages of their lives and their careers. Where Mandalorian is still all about that life, where Boba is more of like, okay, I want to retire. This is his retirement plan. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the way that I look at it.
I haven't seen Mandalorian go, at least what they showed up. I mean, it could be implied is different, but Mandalorian has not gone after. They made it seem like anyone who's gone after kind of deserved it. So, and the way he took to Grogu, to Baby Yoda, and that showed his like compassionate side. So they're very different characters than Boba Fett so far that make the way they make them seem, and it doesn't need to be all the violence. It's like Troy said at the beginning here. It is that air of mystery for one, but it's just such a much more interesting character. Even the tone of the episode seems so much more different than what we've seen so far in the first 4 episodes of Boba Fett, and like. I was all in from the beginning. As soon as Mandalorian appeared, I saw that, I got that little squealing, like yes. And now I can't wait for the rest of the, because now I'm all happy that he's going to be in it. And so now I'm looking forward to the rest of the episodes. When before it was just like, okay, I got to watch because we're going to podcast about this. So I got to be up to with the other guys. So that's how I've been feeling.
Right, like I said, and that's where it comes back to being like a diehard. To me, I'm a diehard Star Wars guy. Like Boba Fett was like my guy. I love Boba Fett. I love Star Wars, so I kind of understand what they're doing. And I'm not Mandalorian. Brought all this back to life. Brought like the whole Star Wars, made it relevant again, kind of, because for a little while, Star Wars, the movies didn't do so hot, and and then you had that Solo movie, which was horrible, and Mandalorian kind of like bringing it back. So I love Mandalorian. There isn't anything that I do not like about the Mandalorian. I love everything about the Mandalorian, and I love the fact that the Mandalorian was actually able to bring us the book of Boba Fett, because without the Mandalorian, we would never even have the book of Boba Fett. So I totally understand whether, Mandalorian is here and Boba Fett is down here. Absolutely, 100%. But for me, as a Star Wars fan, as a Boba Fett fan, it doesn't take anything away from what I'm seeing in Boba Fett. I'm kind of all in, and I'm kind of understanding what it is, what the writers are doing, what they're giving me of Boba Fett, where he's at in his life and what he's doing. I totally get it. And I totally separate the two. And I'm not going to be, Boba Fett is better than Mandalorian. Of course it's not. Mandalorian is one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. But I'm not going to take anything from Boba Fett just because the Mandalorian is better.
It threw me off with the pacing when they originally at the end of the Mandalorian, when they had that Easter egg and Boba Fett walks in, and then he takes out that great big gun and he shoots the dude's like, oh, Boba, and he's like, bam, and he shoots him, pushes him out of the way, and sits there in the seat, and then the chick Fennec, she stands next to him. I'm like, oh, he's gonna kill a lot of people. I was thinking that, and it threw me off because he didn't kill a lot of people, but I see where they're going now. He wants to. He can actually rule them with respect because the guy specifically said they don't respect you out there. That's to put it in our head that he's got to get that. And I think when he gets rid of the Pike, which he's going to do in the next season or two, they've got the next episode. They have to show that they are a horrific threat. That's going to be their act 1. Their act 2, they're going to show all of the muscle that he's got to fight them, but it's not going to look like it's enough. And in act 3, it's enough. He's going to get rid of the Pike and everybody's going to throw flowers and they're going to say, Hail Caesar, and he's going to be the ruler of that entire planet. And he's going to do it with leadership. And I can dig that. Another thing, I was like really wondering what was up with that dent and the Beskar armor. I mean, how do you dent that? Lightsabers can't dent it. The black saber couldn't dent it, but he's got a dent. The big dude, the big Mandalorian that fought him, he had 2 dents. And they said something like, there's something out there that can bang up that Beskar metal. And both of these guys have done it because they've got the same kind of a dent in their forehead. He had 2. Boba's got 1. So I'm like, what is that that's up there denting their heads? Now I'm curious about that. Final thing that I think that to be completely honest, I heard someone else say this first, but I'm going to run with it. I think that the Force exists in different ways for different people, but for everybody. I think those crazy space wizards can use it and they can force choke people from across the room and all that kind of stuff. But I think that the sand people can use it to make those weapons. They shove a lizard up your nose and it gives you funky psychedelic thoughts, and you can find a specific branch that will become your lifelong weapon. I'm not shoving a lizard up my nose, but I get the idea of what they're doing. It's kind of like magic. And then the Mandalorians, they've got he took his helmet off, but the only way that he can go ahead and get his honor back is if he goes back to the planet and goes to the living lake. That sounds like magic to me. And then the black saber, right? If you don't really know how to use it, it gets heavier and heavier and heavier. When I can't remember his name, and the one guy, the Spanish guy, the villain, he's in everything.
Darth Gideon, whatever it is. Is that Gideon? Is it Darth Gideon or something like that?
Yes.
That guy, when he was using it, the sword was heavy. When Mando used it, he used it for a prolonged time. It got heavy, and in fact, that's how he cut his leg, because it was too heavy. He couldn't lift it. He nicked himself. When the other dude took the blade from him, it was immediately too heavy, and that's how Mando beat him. If they were fighting like just without that blade, he'd have beat the brakes off of Mando because he was destroying him. But when he tried to use the blade and he couldn't lift it, so Mando got behind him and put the knife to his neck. But if he'd have dropped that blade, he'd have been able. His hands would have been free. He could have fought. So I'm thinking that's got to be magic too. The blade itself will increase its weight. It's like Mjolnir. You can't lift it, right, for a minute. So I'm thinking that's got to be magic too. And I think that all of those things are tied in the Force, because in the beginning, remember Yoda, Obi-Wan, when he was old Obi-Wan back in the Star Wars days, he told him, the Force is everywhere. I think it is. I think it's everywhere, man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing with that part. I am looking forward to seeing, and from everything that I've read, we're going to get a Han Solo appearance. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've been reading, that he's going to show up at some point before the end of the series. Although who knows with Harrison Ford.
Well, it would be awesome if because obviously in the last episode of Mandalorian we saw Luke Skywalker,
right?
So it would be great if we get Han Solo here. We'll kind of put everything together. And like I said, I mean, the Mandalorian, even he was like, it's Mandalorian is somebody who does everything, for money. And she was like, hey, you want to come help us? We need muscle. And he was like, tell him I'll do it for free, So that's how important Boba Fett even is to him. So, so I need you guys to put a little bit of respect.
I think I respected the character of Boba Fett much more before they gave him his own series. That's how I'll say.
This is old Boba Fett. This is like, we're watching, the old version of Boba Fett, basically.
Something I want to know also, if that tank is revitalizing him, but Mando got cut by the black saber, and the big guy, I can't remember his name, the big guy gave him that little spray, I was thinking Predator when he did that too. Mm-hmm. He gave him that spray on his leg, and then he was up and he was at him. How come he doesn't get some of that spray stuff? Or maybe Mando's going to bring it to him to help him heal quicker, because that just healed him right up.
Yeah, that thing was like,
I think what Mando had to me was more of like, it's like when you hurt yourself in soccer and you're hurting and they put the cold spray on you and you feel better. He just had like he just had like a wound. Mando's like, Mando is like, he's old and his body's all jacked up and he needed to heal from all those months he spent in the desert, and so he needed his type of healing is different than Mandalorian, who's still a young guy and just had a little cut on his leg and boom, he's fine. Put a little put a little Neosporin on it and you're fine. So I think it was probably more than that, where he's it's an age difference, I guess, right?
I got two places I think Solo could show up. Han Solo could show up in that bar, because they keep going back to that bar that what's her name owns, Splash Dance. That bar, they keep going back there. Aliens are getting ripped in half and stuff. So he's going to end up in there, and they're probably going to settle that whole who shot first thing, because he's probably going to shoot somebody first. I think it's going to be like that kind of a thing, or at the last minute, it's going to be a last minute Millennium Falcon rescue. He's going to come in shooting and blazing and get rid of all the Pikes. I think it's going to be one of those two things. It's a guess.
Or you know what it could be too? It could be maybe more of a Chewbacca showing up, because we have Black Chrysanthemum in it,
Hey, yeah.
Oh, he could be going, maybe they're again up against each other, so they can, he can show up for that, or So I mean, I listen. Like I said, I mean, to me, the before the Mandalorians show up, after the Mandalorians show up, I'm all in. So I'm good for for the show, no matter what. And like I said, I personally think, even though, like I said, I'm a Star Wars guy and I love pretty much everything that they put out, they should just, end this series with kind of like showing as we don't need to do a season 2 of Boba Fett, just show this is what happened to Boba Fett. He became the crime lord here, and then he either died old or whatever, blah, and now it's Mandalorian season.
Well, that's what I said. This series, the thing that this series has done the most for me is made me realize how much I wanted Mandalorian season 3. That's what it's done the most.
No, like I said, this Mandalorian is amazing. I love it. There's nothing that I have nothing bad to say about the Mandalorian.
Oh, you better not.
Now, they've got to die out, though, right? They've got to die, because we saw Star Wars, the episodes, the 3 that shall not be named. We saw the last 3 Star Wars movies. There was no mention of Mandalorians, and they were a rising power. Darth Vader, even with the Force and even with the Emperor, he still needed to hire 5 different bounty hunters. One, of course, was Boba Fett, to do his bidding. He still needed that. So it seems like the first round, or whatever they call themselves, the new guys, that they would have hired mercenaries, and they didn't. So are the Mandalorians not around in the future? Did they just
right? Well, you got to remember that. Remember, like, one of the things that they showed was, remember they had the night of what is it, of misery or something like that, where it looked like Terminators came in and kind of like destroyed the Mandalore, right? So obviously, the ones that survived kind of like went off and like were kind of like in hiding, because if you remember the first season of the Mandalorian, when he meets up with the other Mandalorians, they're kind of like in hiding, right? Yeah. There's only a few of them left, so they're pretty much almost done. And then now in this episode, when he goes to meet up with the one that Bryce Dallas Howard is playing, and the big one, it looks like they're the only 3 Mandalorians left, basically, because a lot of them already died, when they went to help Mando in the last one. So it's kind of like
she says that there's more, and she's going to try to unite them, and she brings him into their faction. And then those other ones, the one with I can't remember the girl's name. I just remember that Sasha Banks, the wrestler, was part of the trio.
Right.
Trio that helped him. They said that they were uniting Mandalorians also. So I'm thinking that they're probably sporadic group. Maybe there might only be like 50 of them. I don't know.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. They might because the thing about Mandalorians, that what makes you Mandalorian is that you can't take your armor off, you can't take your helmet off, right? So if these people are they're being hunted down, you're always going to know who a Mandalorian is because he's always going to have his helmet on. So maybe a lot of them were like Boba Fett and they took the helmets off and they became part of society and
blended in.
So, blended in, exactly.
Also, Darth Vader's not going to go around doing. Darth Vader was like, you hire muscle to go do like these menial jobs that I don't want to dirty my hands with. So Darth Vader's not going to go chasing people across the galaxy. Like let me get someone to do that. Right. So But anyway, all right. Let us know your guys' thoughts. Let us know what you think about episodes 4 and 5. What you like, what you didn't like. Why I'm right and Carlos is wrong. And
here you go, right here. This says it everything right there.
Get that garbage off your head. Anyway. But anyway, again, this has been Comics and Pop. I'm Jonathan Rosen, along with Troy Cannon and Carlos Idarraga. And please subscribe.
Subscribe.